my friend, Mr. Nunez. Pleasure
Merry
to have you back
Christmas.
on.
Thank you. Always happy to be here. Always happy to be here. Anytime you want me, I'm here.
And it has been a good holiday season to us LSU fans so far. But right before we came on, got a lot of news dump. All the official titles came out for all the staff. And before we talk about, some of the new coaches we had in the last couple of days, I think a good place to start is some interesting titles on the coaches we already knew were going to be here. Namely, was it Chris Kiffin? It's Co-DC. That's very interesting.
Cody C. and taking over linebacker responsibilities from Blake Baker. So my assumption there is that Baker is still going to work with the star position because that is a very unique thing to Blake Baker. And I don't see them getting rid of that position. So I guess the linebacker's just shifting over to Chris Kiffin and Baker's just still going to work with the stars, which is probably how it should be if, you want your DC focused on more of the play calling and schematic portion of things. So,
right. Yeah, I think when it all went down, I assumed he would get like linebacker coach because it'd be like, this is still going to do what Blake wants to do. But the co-DC's interesting. But, I think also, was it Joe Cox? One of the assistants is also technically co-offensive coordinator.
Yes, it was.
Who was that? Let's see.
I'm trying to remember who it was. While we're trying to find it, I'll point out the other interesting part of the staff is
it was Joe Cox.
It was Joe Cox? Okay.
Yeah.
Which he technically did have that co-DC tag at Ole Miss as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he maintains almost his exact same title. As much as the staff does, except for one person. Kevin Smith gets a light promotion to associate head coach.
Very interesting.
Extremely interesting, considering it's almost the exact same title that Frank Wilson had, and I'm sure Frank is thrilled about that. But it's not an LSU problem anymore. So have fun at Ole Miss, Frank. Love you. But
yeah, that was the first one when they dropped all of these at like one time. Like within 5 minutes, all these codes. I don't know what was the thought process behind that, but that was the first one that caught my eye. Like the Chris Kiffin thing, I can get, but that was the first surprise to me. I mean, it doesn't matter or anything, but yeah, he really is slotting straight into that Frank Wilson role, and I wonder what the thought process behind it is. Could just be because Kiffin thinks he deserves it. Or I also could think, is he going to have a big hand in recruiting, outside of running backs like Frank did? Or was there did he have other suitors for a coordinator role throughout this process that no one really heard about? And this is kind of like a Hankton thing. I remember Hankton was at one point interviewing for head coaching jobs, which that would have been pretty crazy. But then they make him pass game coordinator. Like you said, light promotion. So I wonder what was the emphasis on that.
It also may have just been trying to sweeten the pot to secure his signature
right.
as well. And I'm sure I don't know, I'm not sure, but I'd assume that if, even that didn't sweeten it, we may still have Frank at LSU, but at least that's what it is at this point is until we hear otherwise. That's what I'm going to go off of, is that it was just to sweeten the deal to come over.
Yeah. And the associate head coach is another one of those things. What does it actually mean at the end of the day? No,
right.
Nothing really.
Right.
But yeah, so I think we can get into some of the new hires. Obviously, we already talked about Kevin Smith. We can touch on him in depth more later. But Sterling Lucas, we finally get a D-line coach, and we're going to hope and pray that he lasts more than one season, and he's going to break this curse. We got 2 curses going on right now. You don't want to be the D-line coach at LSU, and you don't want to be the freshman running back coming in because you might catch quite a large charge. So I think Sterling Lucas is going to buck this trend, though.
Yeah, I that's the hope, and I think he's still got a lot of runway to go as a coach. He's only 34 years old, so if he can spend a few years here and kind of cut his teeth and make a bigger name for himself than what he already has, then I think he'll do right by himself. But I think he's definitely got some runway to have some longevity at LSU.
Most definitely. And he was a name that I guess wasn't really on my radar. Never really saw anything about him. But honestly, now they made the hire, it makes obvious sense. Like South Carolina, they've had some dudes up front, specifically last year. And, South Carolina's not going to be one of those places where you're probably going to be able to pump that out every single year. But, I mean, last year they were nasty. I think we've talked about it multiple times. Like, we were very lucky to win that game 2 years ago. But I love him as a recruiter, just checking him out. Dylan Stewart, who that's going to be the name that everyone's going to want to look at now. Look, on the South Carolina side, they're saying Sterling Lucas is like the number one reason he's there. And I watched something today. They said that he had agreed to a new deal with South Carolina before the year, but it was like a ... only if Sterling Lucas is still there. So now that he's gone, come to LSU, the presumptive thought in Columbia seems to be that he will hit the portal. Now, maybe not necessarily. It's 100% locked to LSU. He hits the portal. I mean, I think he'd be like the number one overall player. So that's another guy that he's developed. He was also big for Nick Harbor, which I know he's kind of like a meme player sometimes. He's a hell of an athlete, but he was a 5-star coming out, so that was a big get. And then Lenore Sellers, he was the secondary on. So a guy that has a good recruiting track record at a place like South Carolina. Like you said, he's young, had great stats on the field last year. I think this year they're banged up, and they didn't have the other edge to pair with Dylan Stewart. But I guess one thing before we get more in depth with it is he was outside linebackers coach and D-line coach at South Carolina. Is a thought that he's going to be interior D-line now?
Yeah, that looks to be he's basically, from appearance and the post that LSU's putting out, is that he's filling in exactly where Kyle Williams left off. But he was basically, I wish all of college football could just have the same titles, right?
Yeah.
But he's basically having the same role as what Kevin Peoples had, with the addition of run game coordinator at South Carolina. Now, he does have experience with D-line as a whole. He was the assistant D-line coach in Baltimore for the Ravens. And he was a secondary level assistant coach at a bunch of other places where he worked out with that as well. But Lucas, like much of the staff, is very versatile, and we can go into that as well. I have a bunch of notes on that. He's kind of moved all around. He played linebacker at NC State and has worked with linebackers at a few other places as well. So he's kind of one of those guys who has a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and he just kind of goes where he's needed. So if that's where they're needing him as interior, then I expect that to be where he is.
Yeah. I mean, it is exciting to me because you got an absolute all-star defensive staff, but not that Kyle Williams was bad last year. I mean, he did a very good job stepping in under the circumstances, but now you get a guy with some real experience and hopefully a real good recruiter and give him some time. Hopefully you can get him in for more than one season. But yeah, I'm not sure what happened with Elijah Robinson. I heard some stuff Moscano and other people were saying, kind of make him sound like a prima donna. Honestly, he didn't like how things were maybe leaked in the beginning. You're a D-line coach, that's kind of interesting to me. But he ends up back at A&M after all the Penn State and all the Nebraska smoke. He goes back to A&M, who's kind of had their staff depleted. So I think it's a good pickup. I don't know what other D-line coach that was available you could get. Haven't heard a lot of Coach O. I think that is came and gone now. I think it's pretty much official. We could probably put that to bed.
Yeah. I wonder – I'm sure there was a conversation that was had just because of the relationship with Kiffin as it is. I mean, they are longstanding friends. He just received his last payout from LSU, and I think LSU was also under a timeline to get somebody in the door to try to hold on to as many defensive line recruits as you could. So you kind of coupled the two situations and see where it goes from there, and I think the timeline was working against him if it was going to happen to begin with.
Yeah, which is a little sad, but honestly, it's probably for the best. I feel like you're getting more of a sure thing and less noise with Sterling Lucas, but man, Coach O, that'd be something. And Kiffin's always going to be able to ring up Coach O as like advisor. So I don't
Right.
hate it. It was a fun thought for a while, but now that we're here and we we built out the staff and we've been in it for a while, I think I'm okay with letting that slide.
Yeah, and I think it like you said, it's truly an all-star staff, and I'm not sure how uncommon this is, but I just kind of went through and looked at everybody's past positions, and really everybody except Corey Raymond and Kevin Peoples have worked across different levels of the defense. Scott Olson being the biggest of all of them when it comes to that versatility, has
Mm-hmm.
coached linebackers, defensive line, and safety. Like you got all three like major position groups in
Yeah.
that, and it seems to be a trend throughout the staff is that they wanted guys who have some versatility and some flexibility there.
And one thing I will say with staff that I've noticed just following the other coaches that have been hired, them building out their staff, like LSU staff is SEC heavy. Like the people we hire, obviously, because we kept pretty much our whole entire defensive staff. We obviously hire now Sterling Lucas from South Carolina as D-line coach. And on the offensive side of the ball, we take all the Ole Miss people, and then we get Wolford, who's like a Saban guy, who's been at Kentucky. I mean, that is really good for me because I remember thinking back to when Brian Kelly filled out his first staff. There were a lot of guys there were some dart throws. I remember like steeples. There were a lot of people in weird positions that were in the NFL or they were at other places. It was like, okay, like I can understand the philosophy. You got guys now that have bona fide SEC experience and success. And when I see Summerall building out his staff, it's a lot of his Tulane guys. And they hired the Duke running back coach. It's a lot more G5, lesser P4. Same with Auburn. So, I mean, that's what, like, I agree with you. It is a superstar staff. You don't have to worry. There's no, like, ooh, can he do it at this level? Like,
Right.
Sterling Lucas, we know what he can do.
Yeah, and we were kind of talking about it before. Is the one position that I kind of worry about the most is Wolford on the offensive line because of how things have
Yeah.
kind of gone with him in his second stint at Kentucky. But I don't ever remember his offensive lines being bad at Alabama or prior to Alabama. So,
Right.
and I wonder if looking at Lane coming over and seeing what staff was coming with him, if Wolford ended up being a Saban recommendation, having that experience in that tie, just because, I mean, coach, I'm not getting my offensive line coach to come with me. Where do you think I should go? Well, here's a guy that I liked and served under me, so take a look at him, and that's probably how that went if I had to guess.
And, there are Bama fans and Kentucky fans trying to talk shit like, oh, he sucks. I think Bruni from On3, he had a good, like, breakdown that, I guess, going into the year, they took, like, 3 of their starting offensive linemen in Kentucky, like, very, very late in the spring portal. And apparently going into the season, people, like, the beat writers that are watching practice were like, God, if they can even field a competent offensive line, that would be shocking. And, like, so obviously they weren't great, but apparently people have given Wolford his props for how it went down last year. And then another thing about Lucas, I want to say, just before I forget, on the South Carolina side, they're saying that his move had nothing to do with money. It just was about coming to LSU, being under this Kiffin staff, which is obviously a great feeling, but also I can understand pretty easily from the South Carolina side, like, Beamer is a dead man walking. Like,
Yeah.
this is my thing. I understand maybe you're not wanting to hop in the coaching carousel with all these other big names, but this is why was on the train for so long that you have to fire Brian Kelly. There's a certain point when everyone knows, like, okay, this is not going to work out. And if you run it back for that extra year, like, you have no leverage. Like, you're going to lose your assistant coach. I'm shocked they got Lenora Sellers back after how this year went.
Yeah, and I think you and I had a conversation, or maybe had a conversation with somebody else about it, is the difference between Lenora Sellers being there next year and him not being there next year almost would have been a fireable offense had he not been there next year, because they're going to go 3-9 without him, especially with Aaron Nolan in the portal now too. Which who knows if that would have happened, but
yeah, it's just tough. I feel like there's a lot of those schools that are in that position where they maybe don't want to hop in because there's so many other jobs. But man, like, I think Beamer's South Carolina gonna be like an Arkansas type situation where, like, going into this year, it was like, Arkansas was going to fire Pittman. So they had every good player they had on their team transferred out after last year.
Right.
And I think Stewart goes, which is it's seeming likely. It's going to be tough. Are they on the schedule next year? Probably not, of course.
I don't think they are. No, they're not.
Oh,
Would be nice.
Would have liked to catch him. Would have liked to catch him this year, opposed to 2 years ago. But yeah, so it's good to see though that obviously these other assistants around the SEC are looking at LSU and Lane Kiffin like, okay, if I get that offer, like it's a no-brainer. And that deal came together pretty quickly, so that was good to see as opposed to some of these other ones.
Right. One of the things I wanted to ask you about was, and this is a very Lane Kiffin thing to do, but the Sawyer Jordan as the inside wide receivers coach.
Yeah.
What is your thought on that? Because that's something that I understand the need for it, or the difference between inside and outside, but it's not something I've seen.
You just
before.
don't see it very often. Yeah. I mean, I have no idea how that dynamic works. Yeah. The only thing I'll say is I wanted every single offensive coach they had. So
right.
Keep that continuity, and I'll take both of the receivers coach. I mean, obviously McDonald was the big one, but I'll take them all. And
right.
McDonald's interesting because I've been seeing people on Ole Miss side saying, was he? I don't know if he was I don't know if they're letting him coach at Ole Miss anymore. I have saw that there were some rumors like he really wasn't there, and that they have an interim wide receiver coach that posts on Instagram, and all the people are commenting under. So I don't know. It's a messy situation.
It really is, and it just for me leads back to just change the college football's calendar. Just change the schedule, fix the schedule, and you don't have to worry about all the drama. But the drama's fun, and drama's good to talk about. So either way, we're here.
Yeah, there is a lot to talk about, but yeah, that should be interesting. And LSU posting that real snarky little video of all the assistants rolling back into BR, which I guess they had been doing. I guess we fly them in and out on every off day, which again pretty crazy.
Right.
But obviously the big one from yesterday, they had to get that shot of Kevin Smith, which that was a great sight to see. I think everyone pretty much knew he would come eventually. I know there's some worry initially that he didn't get on the plane on that first day, but his family was at the Kiffin press conference at LSU. There's that leaked video where they're talking about him and Kawan Lacey. Yeah. So I always felt like it was going to happen. We were never really sure what the holdup was. They had all the MOUs for the assistant coaches that came out. Turns out that was really from last year. So big mistake on whoever that reporter was. Probably got a lot of Ole Miss fans excited for no reason. But it's great to have that being official, and it's all done. There's no worry about necessarily any of these Ole Miss coaches who's coming or going.
No, I think and the good part about it is a lot of teams are starting to fill out their staffs outside of just LSU and Ole Miss and whoever else is going through a coaching change at the moment. So the good news is the likelihood of any of them getting a promotion, quote unquote, to at another school is slim to none. So this is going to be the staff going into the season, and it's a really, really fun staff. I'm excited about it.
Nah, man. I can't wait for one. Of course, can't wait for the portal open up, but honestly, can't wait for spring ball. But we're so far away from that.
I'm ready to tailgate for the spring game if they do it.
Hey, Kiffin's done some exciting things for the spring game at Ole Miss in the past. That I wonder what's going to happen with LSU. Right? We didn't have one last year, right?
I can't remember if we did or not. I don't think we did. I don't think we did.
I don't think we did either. But 2 years ago we did. But I will say what's interesting now is that there's no spring portal. I think that opens up an opportunity. One, I think it makes spring ball a lot less easier for the coaches, a lot less politics for them. They don't have to worry I need to play this guy a certain amount in the first team reps because I'm worried about him potentially leaving, even though I think this other guy is really going to be the starter. You don't have to do that. And same thing with the spring game. You don't need to worry about someone having a good film in the spring game and all of a sudden he can hop in the spring portal and do it. So maybe that will lend to their spring game. I hope there's a spring game. When I was at LSU, I always enjoyed going to the spring games, checking out the new players, but it's a dying art, unfortunately, Zach.
unfortunately, and like you said, hopefully it does come back with the elimination of that spring portal. And in addition to that, you can go back to start coaching kids hard instead of just trying to walk on eggshells around kids because you want them to stay.
Yeah, I'm so glad the spring portal's done because that was always like the worry. Like last year, you have this huge portal window in December. You get all these guys. You're like, okay, this is the team, but like, wait, we gotta get through spring. And like, you're walking on eggshells. Like, are we gonna lose anybody? Are we gonna be able to add a safety or a D tackle? We do, and it end up being two of our better players. But I don't really think we lost anyone in the spring. That was surprising last year. It's just still like. I think, like we said, the coaches, it has to suck for them. Like, they're trying to play this balancing act where they don't want to lose anyone. You don't have to worry about it now because, hey, if you want to hop in the portal, like, good luck. You have to sit out all year. I remember, what was it, 2 years ago, the tight end, Markway transferred out on, like, the last day of, I think, like, maybe in the fall, and it was at Nebraska. And it's like, dude, this is – and all of a sudden you had, like, 2 scholarship tight ends. Like, you don't want to be in that position, but – it's going to make this single portal window insane because you're fitting 6 months worth of where you used to be able to transfer in and out into 4 weeks. And Kiffin's and Tweedy's ready to put belt to ass starting on January 2nd. I can't wait.
I said earlier in reply to somebody, it's going to be Christmas 2.0 to see him go to work with all the extra resources that he's going to have in the portal. And it's going to be some very interesting positions too. You know, you're going to get quarterback, you're going to get wide receiver, you're going to get offensive line. I mean, it's going to be a lot of offensive guys for sure, and then you'll get quite a few defensive guys too. I mean, it's going to be a very highly ranked, or it'll be highly ranked. It'll be a big quantity of
for sure.
guys.
Yeah, I think on my video I said I think around. As of right now, if it started today, I would think you're probably like at 20 guys you're taking. But honestly, ever since I made that, talking with other people, I think it'll honestly be more just from a depth perspective. Like, you're probably going to need 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah, probably so. And the question remains, and I saw you bring this up, is if you bring in 2 guys, is Van Buren going to stick around?
He's got to be
probably
gone.
Not. Yeah, but like, if he does, then you still can bring in 2 guys and say, okay, you want to go compete MVB, go compete. Then fine by me.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have a hard time believing Van Buren will be back, despite what he says. Especially if he didn't burn the red shirt, okay, maybe he would stay on. I would still probably no, but the fact that he did, like, he's at the point now he needs to start playing.
Right.
Like, and from what we've seen, I don't know if Kiffin would even go to him and be like, hey, we want you to stay and you'll be the guy going forward. I mean, maybe he sees something in the practice and it's just this terrible situation he's in, but I don't know. The kid from North Carolina, was it Bryce Baker, their quarterback, that when Underwood decommitted last year, we tried to make a push for, kind of like the Duckworth thing this year.
Right.
People have been saying him. It's hard to go back to any of these kids that, like, we finished second for on offense in the last couple of years. It's a completely different staff. I mean, I guess you can't say there's interest in LSU as a school, but people are pointing at him as like a ready and waiting guy. That's probably something they're going to be looking at. But someone had a good point as well. That, like, Kiffin has not been afraid to, like, absolutely stack like 3-4 quarterbacks. Like, they talk about Spencer Sanders was the kid from Oklahoma State, Walker Howard with Jackson Dart. They just take them all, and it's like, all right, if one of you doesn't play, one of you doesn't play.
You're right. I did forget about that a few years ago when they brought in that portal QB class, because there was. I remember the conversation at the time was, you really going to use all these kids? Or are you really going to keep all these kids? And they did. They at least kept them for a period of time and were able to make it
neither
through.
of them played besides Jackson Dart. The other two never really played.
No, they didn't. And I wonder if it'll be a similar situation at running back too. I mean, the thought is, okay, you're bringing Kevin Smith over. Ole Miss is getting Frank Wilson. Is everybody going to stay put? My guess would be probably not.
No, one of them's for sure gone.
One of them's for sure gone, and I think you had said something about it on X today that in replies to Moscona reporting that Kevin Smith was talking to Harlan
No.
Berry and his parents, which would then leave Caden Durham as the odd man out. And Caden Durham is a big Frank Wilson guy, as is Berry. But if Berry's being courted by Kevin Smith already, then that definitely leaves Caden Durham as the odd man out there.
I know that I saw a rumor today that Oklahoma State is going to try to pony up some money for Durham. Apparently, there's a little bit of tampering going on there, and they expect like OU, who finished second in his recruitment, to also be a factor because I think his mom ran track there or something like that. He's a great player. I can see him crushing wherever he goes in the country. It's like with a lot of these LSU offensive players, you don't really know how good they are based off this past year. Like obviously Durham was amazing his freshman year. Another thing with Frank, he didn't play him enough. There was too much Josh Williams 2 years ago when Durham was obviously your best back, but he got banged up at the end of that year. I think he broke his pinky toe or one of his toes. It was obviously painful. Coming into this year, just no one really could get anything going on the ground except Harlan Berry, and then they would just take him out. But he had some bad reads this year in the holes, and it seemed like he still didn't have that top line speed. Was he banged up again? I don't know. If he was banged up again, it's like, can he shoulder the workload to be in the SEC with his frame? So I just feel like there's more questions with him, and then obviously Berry's like the hometown kid who grew up a massive LSU fan, number one running back in the nation. Like I think he showed more this year than Durham. So it just feels like Durham's the odd man out.
Yeah, and I think even if you, for some reason, don't get Kejuan Lacey to leave, I think Harlan Berry being developed by Kevin Smith and trying to get Harlan Berry where Harlan Berry wants to go is, and that's the thing. This isn't a knock on Frank Wilson, but this is a big plus for Kevin Smith. Is Kevin Smith does have that NFL experience, and it's okay, Harlan. I know what it takes to get to the NFL. You want to get to the NFL? I will show you the path. Just go do better than I did in the NFL. Don't get drafted by the worst team in the league at the
time. Oh my God, you just said something that gave me flashbacks. You said the path. The path. Oh man, I haven't heard that in a minute. Thank God. Thank God that's going to be done. But no, yeah, and I think someone asked right before he came on about the Kejuan, like 1.8. It sounds like that's real. I've heard that from like Moscano and people on the Ole Miss side, and that if LSU does $2 million, that he's coming here. Seems like that's probably already been worked out, if I had to guess. So I think he'll come. And then they also said like, hope we can meet Berry's number. And I responded like, I don't really think Harlan Berry's decision is going to really have to do with money at the end of the day. I think it's going to be more role. And it will be interesting how they sell it to him because, look, if he hit the portal, he'd be like a top 10 player in the portal. He could definitely go to a big-time program and be like the lead guy. So I wonder what the pitch will be if Lacey is coming, how they're going to sell that. But, yeah, talk about a tandem that would be. That would be the best running back tandem at LSU in what a decade. I mean, that would be really exciting going into next year.
Maybe even beyond that. And they're two young guys too. They're a sophomore and a freshman. You'd assume that Lacey, if he has, 3/4 of the year this year that he would have next year, that he would end up being drafted pretty highly, especially for a running back, which leaves Harlan Berry then to go back to being, your workhorse, your lead, your bell cow guy, and having him, be able to put up similar numbers, you would hope.
Right. And I think maybe the pitch to him could be like, yeah, you guys are obviously both going to share reps, but like, if you believe in Kevin Smith and his ability to develop, his ability to put you in the pros, with the notoriety Berry has, like he's not like some dude from the Sun Belt where like you need to have a monster season to go to the NFL. Like it might not be the worst thing in the world to not have 1,000,000 miles on his legs going into the NFL. I mean, that's a little thing that you can maybe sell on. But I think the biggest thing and why I don't expect him to go anywhere is I just know him and his family are die-hard LSU fans. Like his dad is a die-hard fan. Not only is he Harlan Berry's dad, and I know Frank and their family is close, but and that sucks for him. But
it does.
I don't know. I just have a hard time seeing that one, he'll leave LSU, and two, that'll just follow Frank to Ole Miss. I feel like that'd be a pretty big risk.
Yeah, I think if he were to leave LSU, I'm not sure that it would be for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Because would he really be considering Ole Miss outside of the Frank Wilson connection at that point? I mean, I think if he were to leave LSU, it's a Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Texas, Oregon, right? All of those blue blood programs that they're going to be able to offer him more money and more exposure than what Ole Miss can offer.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm sure Texas would be super involved there.
Especially since their running back room is now pretty much empty.
Yeah, you got to imagine they're going to hit the portal hard at RB. So do we know Jordan Ball, did he hit the portal or is it still being worked out? Because when I saw, what's their stupid running back coach now from Florida that smacked one of our players this year?
Jabbar.
Yeah. He's there, so I feel like maybe it could be another like Kevin Smith, Quan Lacey situation where he's bringing Ball with him.
Yeah, it could be. And I know Florida fans are thrilled about that and are throwing out accusations of tampering there as well. But I mean, I don't know how it would be anything other than that. And that's the tricky part
tampering
about 2025.
Is legal, yeah.
Right.
People need to get this through their heads. Stop bitching about tampering. Like, it's been so obvious all these schools doing it to each other for like 2-3 years now. Like, I see what you're saying. Like, the Florida fans have been saying that. Ole Miss fans have obviously like for Ole Miss, like couldn't be more obvious what LSU is doing to Ole Miss right now. I guarantee you nothing's gonna happen.
Right. And that's the tricky part is when you have coaches leaving, especially at the time that they are, it's impossible to not happen because you have these relationships with these guys and you just expect them to cut off all ties all at once. Right. You can't talk to them anymore.
Yeah.
Like Trinidad Chambliss and Quinshon Lacey are in Lane Kiffin's office as he's on the Pat McAfee show. Like, they obviously have really good relationships, and you expect that just to cease and desist as soon as he takes another job.
Yeah, and that whole time, by the way, he knew he was going to LSU, so that only sparks fuel into the fire. Man, I really hope that all does go down. Like, I would love nothing more than Georgia just beats the piss out of Ole Miss coming up, and then like the next day, it's like Quan Lacey's good transfer portal. Trinidad Chambliss transferring, like everyone's gonna know exactly where they're going, and that'd be amazing. And we were talking off air, but man, if we could get Dylan Stewart too, I mean, if you just get those three, and then you just fill the rest of the portal out with whoever, it doesn't even matter who. Like, that is going to be looked at as like the best transfer portal class like ever assembled so far. If you can get those three, and that'd be like 3 of the top 5 players in the entire portal.
Oh yeah, I think they may be the top 3 at that point. I mean, the only question for me would be does Chambliss's eligibility drop his ranking a little bit? But at that point, it's still probably him or Levitt that you'd put as the number 1 QB.
Yeah, I mean that'd be insane. Yeah, I wonder how much do they really rate Chambliss, especially when like if he hits the portal, like there's no like he's going to LSU, like there's nothing to really debate about.
Well, the interesting thing for me about Chambliss is if for anybody that didn't watch the broadcast of Tulane and Ole Miss, they were talking about on the broadcast how Chambliss had talked about how it was really important for him to have Charlie Weiss coming back to coach them in this game. He's like, I need my offensive coordinator.
Love that. I like the sound of that. Yeah, it's a good catch. I didn't see that. I don't know if you knew this, Zach, but did you know he was a D2 quarterback last year?
Really?
I mean, they've been beating the shit out of that dead horse for. I mean, I remember getting annoyed of it during the LSU Ole Miss game. It's like the only thing they say every time. Like, oh, we get it.
That'll probably be the one reason why I'm happy I was in Vaught for that game rather than watching it on TV.
Right? Yeah, dude. It was that game was just the epitome of frustration. But yeah, those will definitely be some names to watch. I want to touch on the O-line because that's the only position group, like I think you said the same thing, that I have worries about. because, like, I mean, there's a lot to fill on offense, but you have to imagine through the portal, a lot of it's going to get addressed.
Yeah.
O-line, D-line, historically, the portal doesn't give you those players at the premiums and the high quality ones that, you get a quarterback or a receiver. It's like we said, Josh Thompson. He was like the number one guard in the portal last year. Like, I mean, yeah, Brad Davis was the O-line coach, but he didn't have an amazing season. Didn't have a good season either. So
Right.
my worry is they're going to have to really hit there, spend some money, and they're going to have to find some diamonds in the rough. But the Kiffin offense can kind of scheme around that. I don't think Ole Miss has ever had like these amazing, like Will Campbell, Emory Jones type of lines. So maybe it's a little overblown, the concern.
Yeah, that, and I think my hope for it is that if you aren't able to get the guys you want out of the portal at offensive line, is that hopefully the issue with what you have left now is more a blocking scheme rather than a lack of talent, which it is certainly possible because none of those guys that we recruited in there were scrub recruits. Like, they were all decent recruits, and the way they look now are not panning out. So the hope is, for me at least, is that it was more blocking scheme under Brad Davis, and that Wolford will have a better blocking scheme and a better system to get the best out of these guys that you do have if you can't get the big guys out of the portal.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. You're going to have to keep some of those guys for sure. And it'll be interesting to see which O-linemen transfer out. Like, what does a Paul Mabanga do? What does Kern's already gone. Solomon Thomas, no one's talked about him. He was 5-star on some sites. I expect him to leave just because I know he was an Atkins guy, but, like, what does he do? I would rather not be in a position where you're going to have to, like, take 6 O-linemen even to fill out the depth, because that's when it gets a little hairy, especially when you only have, like, 2 freshmen coming in at that. So that's the only one I have concern about. It's like D tackle is usually the same. Like, I remember 2 years ago, there really wasn't. It was like Dominic Williams, the dude said, OU now, we were in for. And, like, he's like, okay player, but you had to pay him like $800,000, and we weren't willing to do that.
Right.
So D tackle is a spot where you have to pony up a lot of money, and you might not get players, but feel really good about what we got on the entirety of the defense. Yeah. So, O-line's really the only one to watch.
Yeah, and with Thomas, I think, obviously it doesn't look like Atkins is going to have – he may. I don't know. It doesn't look like he's going to have a role at this moment. So if he does get a role at a similar level school, P4, upper level P4 school, then maybe Solomon Thomas does go. But if not, then you're already here. You're in a better offensive system. Right. You might as well just stay put. And that's my pitch to Solomon Thomas.
Yeah, please. I love for him to stay, especially with Kern gone. Like, he was a highly rated guy. I'd love to see what he could be able to do in spring ball, but I worry about him leaving, Mabanga leaving. Who are some of those other depth linemen? Braylon Moore, that'd be another one that would really kind of hurt if you lose, because it's hard to find a lineman. Then now you got to find a center, which is like the most niche position on the O-line.
Well, DJ Chester could play center.
Oh, man.
He's still got another eligibility.
That's not even funny. That's not even funny. Look, I would like DJ Chester to come back as a guard.
Yes, I agree.
Guard, because I'd like to see him in that position, where apparently that's the only position made for him, according to Brian Kelly, and then they put him at center, at left tackle, at right tackle. How about guard? Like, how about the position he actually plays? But yeah, he'll be another guy to watch. I mean, I guess you would like to keep him because he's got great versatility.
Right. But yeah, like you said, I think being able to have him stay put at guard could do wonders for him.
Yeah, let's see it. This is my thing with Kern. Why not play him at guard instead of tackle? Now he's gone. It is what it is. And what I heard about Kern, I heard some of the bigger accounts alluding to it, like maybe off the field he wasn't really dialed in. I remember there were some rumblings at the beginning of the year, like when he really wasn't playing, that it was because like he didn't know the plays or something. And then he obviously, when Weston Davis got his nose broken by Pyburn or whatever in the warm-ups of the Ole Miss game, and they threw him in there and he did good, I was like, get the fuck if he knows the play. It's like, obviously whatever you're doing with him is working, but sucks to lose him. But they said Glasgow and Kiffin are meeting with all these guys, and one, they're either telling them you're not good enough to play here, or two, hey, you made this last year. We really think you're worth this, and if you don't want to take that, then good luck to you.
Right. It's interesting because Juwan Johnson had said, and this is pivoting off of the offensive line a little bit. Juwan Johnson had said that he has not had the chance to talk to Kiffin yet, but this was like a week or so ago. So I wonder if they were trying to settle staff first before getting into some of those conversations, and hopefully the Juwan Johnson conversation is coming soon, and they can kind of talk to him a little bit because he's a player at the top of my list that I would like to keep out of the portal.
Yeah. I'd like to keep him just because I feel like he's a fan favorite. Me personally, I think he's just a tweener. That's how I've always felt about him. Like, not that he couldn't be good at one, but now you've wasted 2 years where he could have been focusing on this one thing, and it's like, okay, he came as a DB, and then he receiver for a little bit. Now he's gonna be quarterback. Now he's gonna be running back, and he's gonna be red zone. No, actually, he's gonna be running back again.
Shades of Russell Shepard.
Yeah, I just haven't seen it though. Also, he fumbles the ball too much for my liking. It's like, I also feel like with some of those guys that in high school are like the highlight reel is ridiculous, and then they come to college and they put on some weight. I feel like sometimes that's putting on weight. Like, obviously you need to do it to play the level, but I think guys lose their shiftiness. I feel that way with him. I never, even when he got touches this year, I never was like, oh man, like that dude is absolutely electric with the ball. Like, it's obviously quick, he's got burst, but I don't know. I feel like I'm lower on him than everybody else.
I just want to see him at receiver, and I'll say it until he's officially gone from LSU. I want to see him at receiver more. I think you put somebody with that skill set and that shiftiness in the slot, and you have an inside wide receivers coach now, so get some extra juice out of that.
I really focused on him.
That level of athlete, if you can put him in the slot and find a way to get him the ball, I think that you can have some success there. I mean, there's a track record of it in the NFL. Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, all white guys, but still same premise. Like, quarterback turned into a slot receiver. Like, it's especially if you have the speed, it can easily be done.
Yeah, I will say his best moments this year were catching like the receiver screens on the outside, notably in that Clemson game. So I mean, look, I'll take him back just because I know everyone loves him because of high school, and there's like a mystique with him. He's kind of like, I don't want to say this, but he's kind of like the new Chris Hilton, where it's like everyone's like, oh man, like he's going to be great, even though like you're never really seen it. Although Chris Hilton, the end of last year, he didn't really show it.
Yeah,
which he is another thing. Man, dude, I wish we had Chris Hilton for another year. See what he could do in the Kiffin offense.
Yeah, I agree. Especially because there was obviously issues with Chris Hilton and the now old staff.
All of them. Brian Kelly, Yankton.
Right. That they just didn't allow him to be a part of the game plan, and it just baffles me. It really does.
I think his problem is he really is only valuable vertically, like down the field. Yeah, the go ball was his thing. We straight up just couldn't even throw it. Like, we didn't have Nussmeier couldn't even get enough loft on the ball, and then he had a nice post to him that one time. He just dropped it, which has always been the Chris Hilton thing, is the drop. So yeah, it sucks. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up being like a 7th round pick and made the NFL, made a roster, because he's got the speed.
He's going to be one of those guys who tests really, really well at the combine and then shoot up boards.
Yeah,
because
that 40 time
he has the speed. Right, he's got the speed. He's not a skinny, deep threat guy. He's a solid build guy. Now we're talking about men's physiques, but he's a strong kid. Like, he'll shoot up some boards at the combine, and everybody be like, "Well, where was this?" And it's like, it was there.
How was Chris Hilton never good at LSU? Like, oh man, do you have an hour to sit down and talk about it? Because there's about 1,000 different things that went wrong for the guy, unfortunately.
Genuinely.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what they do at receiver. A lot of rumors that we'll get a couple of the Ole Miss guys. For sure, I'll take them. They know the system, plug and play. Mm-hmm. But is there anyone else in the portal that's entered that hasn't been talked about and kind of got your eye on I know that Texas linebacker is interesting for me because that was one Texas didn't really want to lose. And it's like, does Blake want to go get one more linebacker, or does Chris Kiffin want to go get another linebacker now that he's officially the linebackers coach? I think that'll be pretty interesting. But is there anybody else that's entered that you got your eye on?
I believe it was I had mentioned Tackett Curtis on here previously. I really like his game. I think there was another from Wisconsin or Nebraska maybe that had hopped in the portal. I get Nebraska and Wisconsin confused because they're the same conference and had the same damn colors. But I think you first have to figure out what Whit Weeks is doing before you can decide how many you want to take. He's got to be. I didn't like his interview
podcast. Yeah, it was a little surprised, but I feel like, I guess it was. I mean, maybe he's not going to announce it on the freaking Gordy show or the Get Gordon show, but what is there to think about? I mean, what is he going to be, a 5th round pick? He's really going to make more money coming back, and feel like Coach Kiffin's like, hey, like, you're not dating my daughter unless you're coming back. That was a big part of this. Yeah.
You got me here, and if you leave as soon as I get here, no more. I feel
like his daughter would be pissed. Like,
don't bother coming to Christmas.
Yeah. So I just have a real hard time believing he's not going to be back. But yeah, I mean, it's still up in the air. If he's gone, I feel like, man, unless they feel really, really, really good about one of the freshman linebackers from this year, like, you're definitely going to have to hit the portal for a quality guy.
I think you need at least 2 at that point. I think you can get away with getting one out of the portal this year, but I think if Whit leaves, you need at least 2.
Yeah. Because I'm not a big Keys guy, to be honest.
I like it. I'm all right with
a lot of people do. And I don't like him for things that he can't control. It's just the height. It's just the coverage. There are too many times where he got stuck in coverage against guys who are like damn near a foot taller than him. And it's like, yeah, he's there. He's in the right position. But it's like that Vandy game, they got the fucking first round tight end on him that's like 6'6". Like, some limitations there. But, I'm excited about guys like Charles Ross, Jim Coy, I'd like to see. He had pretty good reviews in the fall. So I'm excited for this bowl game. We can segue into that.
Yep.
Is that this Friday or Saturday?
It would be Saturday. It's 27th. Yeah, Saturday.
I'm interested to see. They better play these young guys, though, man. Especially a receiver. I got to see Manchild and Wright. I'm going to lose my shit if they don't play either of them.
You're going to have to. You're going to have to because you are empty at receiver at this point. And I think one of the things that I kind of just had this idea is Perkins is opted out of the bowl game, correct?
Right. Yes.
Do you want to see Keys at the star position?
Ooh. That'd be interesting. But it's just like, man, are you going to play him in coverage that much? I mean, Star does have a good bit of coverage, does it not?
But at that point, he's less likely to get matched up with tight end.
That's true.
8 feet tall.
I mean, that'd be interesting because I think that's something like none of us have really talked about now. I think about how you even touch on the star position in my video about the portal. Yeah, because I think Gilbert's already hit the portal, and not that we would necessarily want him coming back as a starter anyway. So, yeah, I don't mind doing that in the bowl game just to see what happens.
Throw anything you can at the wall and see what sticks in the bowl game. That's my.
And I guess what will be good about playing Houston is like they're a quality team, and they're going to want to win this game because they're playing LSU. Does give you a good look as opposed to like we played Purdue 2 years ago and they didn't have a coach and they weren't that good to begin with, and then they lost whatever good players they had. It's like, okay, it doesn't really tell me anything about any of these young guys, but yeah, you'll get a good look. Yeah, Keys and Star, I haven't thought about that. That'd be interesting. Yeah, who else are they going to play?
You might have to. You'll probably run out the Weeks brothers at linebacker, and then you don't really have the depth at defensive back right now with an opt-out or two there, and then a bunch of guys in the portal there as well, that you might have to shift Keys to that star position and then run Weston Witt or Weston Zach or any combination of the three at linebacker.
Yeah, that will be interesting. God, I kind of wish like West would just opt out though, just so they'd be forced to play the freshman. But I get like why he's going to play.
Yeah,
but at this point, it's like I don't care about people opting out. The bowl game is more about the development. Like,
Mhm.
no one really cares about winning or losing. It's like I want to like last year was great to see Keys, for example. He had a huge bowl
Mhm.
game, so it was like, okay, I feel good about it. Our depth going into next year. So I've seen it against a quality Baylor team. So yeah, interested to watch that. I think we're gonna lose, but unfortunately, gonna have to watch that offense one more time. They should pay us money. LSU should have to watch our offense take the field for 60 minutes.
Right.
Hopefully, they got some wrinkles like in the Arkansas game that can make it a little interesting. But yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do there.
I don't know. I just hope that putting Kiffin on the sideline for some practices has kind of rubbed off
Yeah,
into what we're gonna do in that game because yeah, that's the one thing that I'm not looking forward to is like I said, having to watch 18 bubble screens and rest in peace to this offense. Except no peace.
rest in piss.
Rest in piss.
Rest in
Rest in
piss. This
piss to this offensive scheme.
couple more
Happiness
terrible red zone possessions. My thing is, man, like I just want to get out of this game healthy.
Yeah, you got to. The good news is it'll be a long spring, and you don't have to worry about any of those guys in the portal. So
Believe it, yeah.
you have the time to kind of recuperate physically from all of that if something does happen because it happened with Witt last year.
Yeah, man, it was
happened
terrible.
with
That was a terrible feeling. And honestly, it looked a lot worse at the time than what it ended up being. It looked like,
nasty.
oh my god, he might miss the entire next year. So it's like, oh, I hate when that shit happens in the meaningless games. But yeah, we got to get out of that one healthy. But yeah, want to see a lot of the young guys. Don't care about winning or losing necessarily. Just want to see the young guys.
Yeah, I think that's a must. Even if you, Juwan Johnson wants to put some tape out on out at quarterback, by all means.
Why not? Why not? We got nothing to lose at this point. And everyone's wanted to see that for the longest time, at least in the red zone, man. They always talked about that in the fall and never even tried to do it once. Let's just see what he can do in the red zone.
Right. I agree. And it's, even if it's a wildcat package and you are a little bit more limited, like, do it. Just do it. Please. Like, fulfill all the promises that you made in the offseason and run it.
Yeah. Because this can be like the swan song for a lot of these offensive coaches. Like, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see where a lot of these guys end up. Where does a Brad Davis end up? Where does Alex Atkins end up? Obviously, Joe Sloan's already OC at Kentucky, which was probably shocked people if you told them that 2 months ago. I wonder about Brad Davis because he does have a good record as a recruiter.
He does have a really good record as a recruiter. I wonder.
But like it hasn't already happened yet, right? Like Frank's already been hired. A lot of these positions already been filled. Yeah.
And that's my thought is like, where do you go for 2026 at this point if a lot of this is already getting filled? I mean, do you just go take a secondary assistant or an analyst role for a year or two and play your cards?
I think you're going to have to.
Probably so. Or Tulane seems to be shuffling around right now, and you are a Louisiana guy. So is that a role that you could potentially step into right now?
Yeah. And, it's pretty telling that barely any of these offensive assistants were looked after. Because I know, like, Auburn, a lot of their coaches, like Derek Nix, is very sought after, even when they fired Hugh Freeze. Florida, obviously, a lot of their assistants taking other jobs. The offensive staff at LSU, I mean, Joe Sloan and Frank Wilson was always going to be a valuable assistant coach. But Sloan was shocking. I thought he would be destined to be like, maybe like a law tech type level again.
Right.
But yeah, I could see Atkins
could end up at Ohio State.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on old Cortez, man. The Ohio State fans, they don't know what's coming. I'm trying to tell them, and they're confused. And it's like, I promise you, this was the same thing Georgia fans were telling us. I was like, man, we poached Georgia's coach. Like, Brian Kelly dropped his nuts on Kirby Smart. And all the Georgia fans like, nah, you don't understand. Like, he's not that good. Like, nah, you're coping. Nah, you'll see. Interesting interesting that he's getting a look for that. And it hasn't been filled, which is like, but there'd be no reason to wait until the end of LSU season to announce that. So
No, and
I
they
don't
still
know.
have a guy in place for the playoffs, so
Right, that's
it's not
true.
like it's not urgent for Ohio State to get somebody in right now.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see where Atkins ends up. Because I mean, they do all have their contingent of guys that are like basically came to LSU for them. Do they follow? It'll be hard though to leave the luster of LSU with Kiffin, especially if you feel like you do have a chance in the two deep to actually get meaningful reps or set yourself up to start in a year from now. Which is hopefully we keep this attrition to the portal pretty low. Keeping all the defensive staff is massive because it seems like you're just going to lose guys that you would have lost anyway because
Right.
the coaching is all the same. So it is exciting. January 2nd can't come soon enough. Kevin
Christmas
says
2.0.
spot the ball. He wants to spot the ball in this portal game real bad. But
It's gonna be nice.
anything to look out for in the next week, you think, as we wrap this up?
I'm not sure it's done yet with coaches and whatnot. We'll see on that. I know every major position's filled. You still got some secondary positions to fill, and we'll see what happens there.
Yes, there
But
could be
I'm not
one more
confident it's
night.
done yet.
Yeah, could be one more little surprise going LSU fans' way this Christmas.
Oh yeah, hopefully so. Hopefully so. It would be nice. Just keep bringing in some good talent and see what you can do with it.
Yeah, keep bringing in the good news. Keep giving us something to talk about. We're so close to the portal being open. We can finally have a lot to talk about. It's been kind of slow these last 2 weeks, which honestly, it's been a little nice after a crazy 2-month stretch. I'm glad that is all over. But Mr. Nunez, it's been a pleasure.
Anytime.
We'll obviously
You know
do
where to
this
find me.
again.
Of course.
I'm not sure if I'll go live tomorrow, but if not, happy holidays to everyone.
Yep.
We'll be back next week for sure, but enjoy it all. Yeah, keep a lookout. There might be a little bit more good news to come.